Hey up. So today we are preparing some pork shoulders to go onto the smoker. We're going to be making a classic pulled pork. It's going to be fantastic. I'm doing quite a lot because it freezes really well, which I will show you the prep on this later on. So I've already pre-prepped one of these. Basically what I'm going to do is take the fat off. You don't want this big thick layer of fat on there because the smoke isn't going to penetrate that, and you're not cooking with hot enough temperatures to get it nice and crispy. So the first thing I'm going to do is remove that. So we get the string off. Get rid of the string. Now I want to be taking a sharp knife and removing this layer of fat, and we're going to do a bit of trimming as well. So a lot of the thick white fat underneath it, the soft fat underneath it, we're going to cut that back as well. It's nice to have a bit of that because it'll sort of help baste it, and it's all flavour in the end. But Alright, so we're going to start by getting the side of this. Now this is actually half done, so it's going to try and fall to pieces a little bit. And we're just going to cut underneath it. We'll try and leave as much as the actual flesh on as we can. But it doesn't hurt if you take some of that off. It makes for better pork scratchings, which is what I'm going to do with this. Nothing gets thrown away. So there you see we've got the sheet of fat off, and to be honest, that's going to make a lovely bit of pork scratching. So I'm going to put that to one side and save that for in a bit. So what we can do now, we've got the bulk of the fat off, is we can just trim off some of these bigger, thick, sort of white bits of fat there. It's alright to have a little bit on because it's just going to melt away, but the big chunks, nothing's going to happen with them. It's going to stop the smoke penetrating as well. And yeah, just remove them. So get your knife, slice into those again. Try not to take any of the flesh off underneath, because with this bit here, you're not really going to do anything with this. It's just going to go in the bin. I haven't found a use for this yet, but I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is somewhere. So you don't have to go to the nth degree. Leaving a bit of it on isn't going to matter. So you can see this piece of pork that I've got is actually come in two pieces, almost. It's just joined together by a little slither. It's luck of the draw when you're buying it from this is just from a supermarket. You don't know what it's going to be like until you get it out of the packaging. Not a problem though, because we're going to tie it all together. Right, so that is the bulk of the fat trimmed off. Right, so we're going to get some butcher's string. I'm going to try and bundle this all back together, just so it doesn't fall to pieces in the smoker. We're just holding it together. It don't have to be all fancy. Now, I'm not a butcher. I don't know the tricks on how best to tie this, so I just tie a couple of knots. I know you see them doing the fancy looping around and tying it all back together. I'm sure that would be incredible if I could do that, but yeah, we're just tying it together. Now, it helps yourself if you make sure your pieces of string are long enough, nice and long. I've kind of made these a little bit short, to be fair, but not the end of the world, just makes it a bit easier. Alright, there we go. So that's that done, tied together. So I've got two of these now, all trimmed and trussed, and now it's time to apply the rub. So to apply the rub, I like to put them in a tin, really, the same tin that I'm going to carry them out to the smoker in. Helps keep all the rub in there, and you can make sure you're dipping up lots of bits. So this is just a generic sort of barbecue rub. Obviously you can use any type of shop bought or homemade. I'm going to apply this liberally to the full outside of the meat. So on the top there, flip it over into those nooks and crannies. Try and get plenty of rub on. Pat it in as you go around, making sure we get all sides. And there we have it. 2 pork shoulders, or pork butts as the Americans call them, ready to go outside into the smoker. So we've got the smoker fired up. It's running away at a good sort of 240 degrees Fahrenheit at the minute. So it's time to get the meat onto the shelves. We've got a nice big pork shoulders there. I'm going to put them towards the back of the oven. Now these guys are pretty forgiving. They're going to take the heat. They're going to take extended time. You can't really go too wrong with the pork shoulder. In the same cook, I'm also doing some short ribs. You'll see this in another video. I'm going to pop inside and fill one of these trays up with some water to go underneath, so it keeps it a bit moist inside the cooking chamber. So we'll close that up and then come back to it in a few hours' time. Okay, so we're going to let's have a look at the temperature. It's dropped down, I'm not sure if you can see it properly, but it's dropped down to about 201, so I'm just going to chuck another log on there, get that going back up again. And the top vent is fully open, so we're getting as much airflow as we can into there. Try and get that heat up. So a quick look at what's happening inside here, and I'm going to use the temperature probe just to check on how these guys are all doing. It's looking pretty good, to be fair. Looking very nice. So I need to swap hands. Just need to swap hands for doing this because it's a right-handed one. I'll try the pork. So right in the centre of that pork, you see it's still 55 degrees thereabouts. I'll check the other one just to see what's happening with that one. Yeah, it's pretty much exactly the same. But yeah, they're looking good. So yeah, they're looking good. So we'll close this back up again. Keep that temperature going. And come out and check on it again in a little bit. Evening guys, so we're back outside. The cooker is going pretty well, so we've got a temperature of about, running away at about 230. It's been up and down, but you know that's the way the cookie crumbles. It is kind of a bit cold out here, to be fair, so we've been struggling. I've chucked a lot of wood on there, a lot of coal on, trying to keep temperature up. It's gone right up, it's gone right down. Don't worry too much. Pork can handle it, basically. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get my little probe and I'm going to check the temperature of these. So if you come and have a look at this, that is looking good. That is looking very nice. So I've got a thermometer in one of the porks because I've only got one that actually works now. The others kind of stopped working. They're about 10 degrees out. So I'm going to check the pork. Stick my thermometer in. So the other one is showing about 160 odd, which is the same as what it's showing there, so I'm not too worried about that. I'm going to just check these short ribs. I had 4 short ribs in at the beginning, and now I've got 2 left in because I took the 2 smaller ones out because they were cooked a bit quicker than these 2. If you've never had short ribs before, these are epic. You know, these take meat and beef to the next level. So I mean that one's coming in at about 199, 200. If you can just see the thermometer there, yeah, call it 200. That near as damn it. What's 0.1 of a degree between friends? So they are very close to being done. Very close indeed. What's happened with the pork is we've hit something called the stall. So it gets to a certain temperature and then it just seems to stop cooking. And you're thinking, what is going on with this? Why is it not cooking anymore? It's perfectly natural. It's all the moisture inside sort of turning into steam and it's just stopping it from cooking anymore. Or it seems like it is. Two things you can do. You can either sit through it. With pork, you can easily sit through it because it will take it. Or you can wrap it in foil and then put it back in and it'll push through that stall basically. It'll make it a lot quicker. I've decided to just sort of sit it out because I'm not in any rush. We've got through the stall now. The temperature's increasing. It's gone up from sort of like 150 is where I hit the stall. Now it's at 167. It's going up a couple of degrees every sort of 10 minutes or so. We're aiming for about 203 degrees Fahrenheit on that. And I'm using Fahrenheit because that's just the American sort of method of doing it, which is what we've said on previous videos. All this stuff is, it's not my beer. All this stuff is American recipes, so I'll just keep with that because it's just a bit easier. But yeah, so we'll leave that for a bit longer, keep adding fuel as we need to, and yeah, we'll see you in a bit. Cheers. So guys, I'm ashamed to admit it, but I'm gonna have to accept a defeat on this occasion. The problem is, we've got a really hot oven. We've got everything going. It's just fluctuated a bit too much. It's really cold here tonight. You know, it's a struggle to keep the temperature going. Me pork just isn't getting to temperature. I think I've hit the second stall. So what I want to do now is I'm going to take it out of the barbecue. I'm going to wrap it in foil, and that's going to help push it through the stall. I know I said earlier on that I was going to just like push through and let it go, and that's because it looked promising at the time. But it just seems like it's stopped again. So I'm currently at 169 degrees Fahrenheit. It's been there for a while now. I think the only thing for it now is to take it out, wrap it in foil tightly, and I've got two options now. I can either put it back in the smoker, and I can keep chucking logs and chucking coal in, and you know, keep it hot, or I can just put it in the oven. It's going to make zero difference. It doesn't matter what the heat source is from now. It's going to make no difference to how it's going to taste at the end. The benefit of putting it into the oven is that it's going to get a consistent heat. We can keep it going. Don't have to think about it too much. I'll still stick a thermometer in the meat, see how it's actually performing. But other than that, yeah, keeping the barbecue going at this time, keeping the logs going, keeping the coal on and everything, it's just spending money unnecessarily, really, using my wood that I don't need to use. So I am going to cheat, but at least I'm telling you that I'm cheating, and it's giving you the option to do the same thing. So I'm on the wine now, by the way. It's nice to have a bit of a change up from my beers. I'm going to get these out of the barbecue. I'll get my tongs. So I'm going to get these out of the barbecue. And I mean, that is looking really good. We've got a really nice bark on there. It's quite sort of firm. It's not too soft. It's a good colour. It's a fantastic colour. It's just not getting the internal temperature, which is what we're really looking for in this. So it pulls like proper pulled pork. It smells epic. So we're going to pop it on some foil. And we're just going to wrap that tightly. We get a second piece of foil. So double layer it. Wrap it the other way. I'm going to put those in a tray, and I'm just going to go and stick them in the oven now for the remainder of the cook. Put a thermometer in so you can keep an eye on how hot it's getting. It's the best thing to do, to be fair. You've got to know when to quit. It's not going to get any more smoke on it. The flavour is not going to be affected at all by what we're doing now. All we're doing is bringing it to the right temperature, ready for eating. Okay, so it's finally 203 degrees internal temperature. It's important to note that this is not something you can say to people, yeah, dinner will be 6:30 sharp. It's really not. It's very late. At the minute, it's about 11 o'clock. It's probably like 3 hours after I wanted it to be done, but this is just how it goes with barbecue. So, right, we're going to take it out of the oven now, and we're going to let it rest for a little bit. I do this every time. I spend all this time making these videos, cooking this food, and I never ever show the finished result. So anyway, these are the pork shoulders I smoked earlier today. I ended up finishing them in the oven because they just weren't getting anywhere on the barbecue, and it would have just cost like a lot more money, to be brutally honest, in wood and coal than it would in gas or whatever. So yeah, put them into the oven, and we've got epic pork sandwiches. Bit of barbecue sauce on those. Seriously, guys, these are nice. You need to try these. Nice one. Cheers. Bye.